even you said it, like in air quotes, softness, right? Like it comes off as a bad word. Oh, don't be too soft. Like there's nothing about softness that sounds desirable in a business context. Like you don't want to be soft in negotiations. You don't want to be soft in your sales, like it just kind of, it doesn't compute. So I think when we talk about leadership, we talk about soft power. I think it's challenging because softness, like the definition, we need to define, like, what does that even mean? I think, yes, softness can be seen as a weakness if you're talking about caving in when other people, have stronger opinions than you do, right? Like that's also softness. So I think that terminology is troublesome to begin with. What I've noticed with women in leadership roles, or just like women in my life, my friends, women I admire, like all of these women that I've interviewed for the blog, I like to say that they're women of note, which just means I admire them. And I can't even really put my finger on it, but I know I want to talk to them about the way their way of being in the world. And what's consistent for me about all these women is that there is a strength together with a softness. So the softness is never on its own. It's paired with this incredible strength. I have a lot of people who tell me, for example, like, oh, Rebecca, like you're so strong and you're so feminine at the same time, and it's almost like they say that as if they're surprised. Like, how could that be true? And I mean, it's not like I wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to be strong and feminine today, like whatever. It's just kind of, I guess it's just the way I am. But what I've seen when women struggle to, for example, get into leadership roles or get promoted or, whatever they're trying to do to advance their career, I often see that they over-index on the like hard leadershipy, like what you think a leader is meant to do. And then often what happens is that femininity, and we'll call it softness for now because we don't know what else to call it right now, gets pushed aside because we've been sold kind of a shitty story. Like, we need to be strong, or we need to be really aggressive or masculine or, whatever. And it's no wonder because men have been in power since the beginning of time. Well, not since the beginning of time, but for a long time. And so women have seen them as role models. And so then they are like, well, I guess I'm going to be like him and take on those characteristics because that's how I can get ahead, or that's how I can get into this leadership role, or that's the way leadership is done. And the women that I've interviewed, again, like this common thread is that they have a fierceness to them and this softness, right? So it's a combo. It's never just one or the other. It has to be both. And I think that this quality that you're talking about that is missing from leadership. And I think it's tempting to say, oh, women in leadership, but really it could be anybody. It could be a non-binary person, for example, right? Like, what are the qualities that make a leader a good leader? And I'm biased about communication skills because that's my wheelhouse. But what I see all the time is that women are generally better communicators than men. And I think, I don't know what the statistics are, but I'm sure we could find a million statistics that prove this to be true. And one of the reasons why is that, hey, we're better listeners. We understand how to show more empathy. We understand how to involve everyone in the conversation. And that to me is this foundational strength because you're not relying on force to persuade people, to get people to do things. You're bringing them into the conversation so they feel agency. And so then they are involved in the project or whatever you're trying to do. And that's when people get excited about their work, and that's when people feel inspired and motivated. They don't feel inspired and motivated by a dictator saying like, you need to do this, blah, 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 blah.